The HOA president blocked the gate with her Mercedes while my wife was bleeding out in the back of an ambulance. Our baby died before we even made it to the hospital. She smiled while it happened, and she had no idea that I'm the chief of surgery, the man who was about to end her career, her freedom, and her entire reputation. My name is David Chin, and I thought I'd seen every form of cruelty in the world. I was wrong. Nothing could have prepared me for Patricia Henderson, the HOA president of Sunset Hills Estates, who treated the neighborhood like her own personal kingdom. You couldn't hang a wind chime without her approval. Couldn't plant a tree, couldn't paint your fence, couldn't even leave your trash cans out for 5 minutes past pickup. And God forbid you questioned her rules. She lived for that power. The week before everything happened, I made one small mistake. I parked my fishing boat in the driveway for a couple of hours to clean it. A violation notice showed up before the engine was dry. Driveway storage infraction. Repeat offenses will lead to community sanctions. Patricia's neat handwriting. I crumpled it and tossed it. Didn't think twice. I had no idea that little piece of paper was a death sentence waiting to happen. A few days later, Rachel woke me at dawn. Her face was pale but glowing. "David, it's time." She was 38 weeks pregnant. Our first child. After years of trying 2 miscarriages, endless nights of prayers, this was our miracle. We'd named him Lucas. I'd packed the hospital bag a week earlier, planned the fastest route, everything ready. But when she stood, her eyes went wide with fear. Blood. Too much of it. My instincts kicked in. Placental abruption. A nightmare for any doctor, let alone a husband. I called 911, stabilized her as best I could. The paramedics arrived fast, loaded her in sirens on. I followed in my car, heart pounding. Every minute mattered. Then, at the exit gate of our community, we stopped. The ambulance lights reflected off the shiny hood of a black Mercedes parked sideways, blocking the road. Patricia Henderson stood there, arms crossed, calm as a statue. "Move your car," I screamed. "My wife is dying." She didn't even blink. "Emergency vehicles require prior authorization to enter or exit Sunset Hills," she said. "HOA policy." "You can't be serious," I shouted. "She's hemorrhaging." "Then perhaps next time, doctor, you'll remember to follow procedure. Rules are rules." Behind me, the paramedic jumped out. "Ma'am, this is life or death." Placental abruption. Her baby's heart rate is dropping. Patricia smiled. "Then you'd better hurry up and get that permit, hadn't you?" That smile, so smug, so satisfied, burned itself into my brain. I ran to her car, tried the handle. It was locked. She took a step back, phone in hand. "I'm calling the police to report an unauthorized vehicle breach." For 7 minutes I begged. The paramedics begged. Rachel screamed inside that ambulance until she couldn't anymore. Then came silence. Something in me broke. I got in my car, slammed it into drive, and floored it straight into her Mercedes. The impact jolted through my body. Metal twisting, airbags exploding, but I didn't care. The gate was clear. "Go! Go!" I yelled. The ambulance sped past, sirens wailing into the morning. When we reached St. Mary's, my hospital, Rachel was unconscious. My colleagues rushed her into emergency surgery. I wasn't allowed in. Hospital protocol. So I stood there covered in her blood, powerless for the first time in my life. 7 minutes. That was all it took for Patricia Henderson to destroy mine. An hour later, Dr. Martinez came out of the OR. Her face told me everything before she said a word. "Rachel's alive," she whispered. "But the baby. I'm so sorry, David." Lucas didn't make it. I felt the world collapse around me. My knees gave out. I'd saved hundreds of lives in that same hospital, but not my own son. When Rachel woke up groggy from anesthesia, her first words were, "Where's Lucas? I want to hold him." And I had to tell her. Watching the realization wash over her face, watching her scream until she tore out her IVs, I thought I'd die right there with her. She fell apart in my arms, crying for the child she'd never hold. That night I made a promise to myself Patricia Henderson would never smile again. I called Marcus Anderson, a top attorney in the state. I gave him everything, every detail, every second of that nightmare. "I even have it on video," I said. I'd hit record on my phone during the confrontation out of desperation. It showed Patricia standing there, arms crossed, refusing to move, saying those words, "Rules are rules. No permit, no entry." Marcus listened silent, then said, That's depraved indifference. She knew the risks and didn't care. We can go after her for criminally negligent homicide. By morning, I'd also called Detective Lisa Morrison, someone I'd worked with on hospital cases before. She blocked an ambulance, I told her. My son's dead because of her. Send me everything you've got, she said. We'll open an investigation immediately. Within 24 hours, the story broke nationwide. HOA president blocks ambulance, baby dies. It spread like wildfire. People were outraged. News crews parked outside Sunset Hills. Other residents started speaking out. She fined us $500 because our grass was too long. She blocked my moving truck for hours. When my husband had a heart attack. She stopped me to lecture about mailbox color. It turned out Patricia had terrorized the entire neighborhood for years. Lucas's death just exposed it. 3 days later, we buried our son. A tiny white casket that shouldn't exist. Rachel sat in a wheelchair holding the blanket we'd bought for him, the one he'd never be wrapped in. I gave the eulogy, my voice shaking. My son never took a breath. He never opened his eyes. He never felt the sun on his face because 7 minutes were stolen by someone who valued rules over life. Patricia Henderson decided that her HOA power mattered more than humanity. But I promise you, Lucas, this won't end here. Your life will mean something. 2 days after the funeral, Patricia was arrested, charged with criminally negligent homicide, reckless endangerment, obstruction of emergency services. The footage from my phone. The 911 calls, the security camera at the gate. It was all airtight. Still, when I saw her on TV being led away in handcuffs, she was shouting, "This is ridiculous. I was enforcing community rules." The doctor broke HOA protocol. No remorse. None. Her lawyer, Stephen Brooks, was slick, expensive, and nauseatingly confident. My client was simply doing her duty. She had no way of knowing the severity of the situation. Rachel watched that press conference from bed. She hadn't spoken in days. Then softly she said, "He's making her the victim. Our baby's dead and she's still the victim." I held her hand, not for long. Over the next month, Marcus built the case of his life. The evidence piled up: video, audio, text messages. We even found a message Patricia had sent her daughter the morning of the incident. Finally going to teach that arrogant doctor a lesson. She didn't just block that ambulance by chance, she planned it. By the time the trial began, the entire country was watching. Rachel attended every day, pale but determined. I sat beside her, hands clenched, staring at the woman who'd killed our son. The prosecutor, Assistant DA Jennifer Torres, opened with a picture of Lucas, his tiny face peaceful in death. "This baby never had a chance," she said, because one woman decided her rules were more important than his life. Then came the footage, the 911 call, my shouting voice, the paramedic begging Patricia to move, her monotone reply. Rules are rules. The courtroom was dead silent except for Rachel's quiet sobs. Patricia's lawyer tried everything. She was just doing her job. She didn't know the urgency. She was enforcing order. Jennifer cut him off. She was told a baby was dying. She checked her watch and smiled. When Rachel took the stand, I thought I'd lose it. She described the moment she heard Patricia's voice through the ambulance window. She wasn't helping. She wasn't scared. She was bored, like we were an inconvenience. Rachel's voice cracked. "I begged God to save our baby, but we couldn't even leave the gate." Then my turn came, the victim impact statement. I stood holding Lucas's hospital bracelet in my hand. It was still unused, still too big for his wrist. "I've saved hundreds of lives," I said, my voice trembling. But I couldn't save my own son, because a woman with a title thought paperwork mattered more than compassion. 7 minutes. That's all it took. 7 minutes that will haunt me for the rest of my life. Patricia stared straight ahead, expressionless. When the verdict came, the jury only took 6 hours. Guilty on all counts. Patricia finally looked afraid. Her lawyer started talking about appeals, but the judge wasn't having it. Judge Martinez leaned forward, voice sharp as a blade. "Mrs. Henderson, you were begged to move. You were told a child was dying. You ignored every plea and enforced death, not order. You are a danger to every human being who values rules over life." He sentenced her to 35 years in state prison. She gasped, turned toward me and hissed, "This is your fault. If you'd just followed the rules." I stepped closer, my voice low. "If you'd shown an ounce of humanity, my son would be alive." As they led her away for the first time, she looked small, powerless, exactly what she'd made everyone else feel. That night I went home and sat in Lucas's empty nursery. His name was still painted on the wall, the crib untouched, the mobile above it still spinning slowly, the soft chime breaking the silence. I cried until there was nothing left. Weeks later I found myself standing at his grave again. The grass was still fresh. The world kept moving, but I couldn't. Until Rachel came to stand beside me. She placed something in my hand, a pregnancy test. Positive. She whispered Lucas would have been the best big brother. I looked up at the sky, tears falling. He still will be. We didn't win. There's no winning when you lose a child. But there was justice. And sometimes that's the only thing left to fight for. Because rules without compassion are just another form of cruelty.